What's up, book lovers? I want to talk to you about another topic of books here today with what kind of format you have when you read a book. This is something that I have experimented with a lot, and I would recommend that other people experiment with as well. I think that it really comes down to your learning preference and how you can absorb information most effectively. But the three different formats that are most common these days are: one, a paper copy of a book, right? A physical copy that you can hold and turn the paper pages. The second would be like an ebook that you could have on a tablet or even a computer or your phone, and you would just swipe over the electronic pages and you'd be reading it that way. And then the third one, which I've learned is mine, that's my preferred method of consuming a book, and that would be an audio book. I want to go through the pros and cons and my own opinions on all those different things and help you try to figure out how you can experiment and decide if there's books you like in different formats. Let's start off back with a paper book. The paper book is what a lot of people would consider like generic reading, right? That's the original book format. A lot of times when I talk to people, they're like, well, but how many physical books do you read? Oh, okay, so like if, that's how many true books you read or something. There's kind of a weird, I don't know, almost like a snobbery within like the paper book mindset that like, well, true reading is only the paper books, and if you read ebooks or audiobooks, that's not like real reading of books or something like that, which I call BS on that, because I feel like if the information, however it travels, if the information travels off the book, whatever its format is, and into your brain, and you know it, and you can talk about the book subject matter just as easily as anybody else who's read it, then who cares how you read it? It entered your mind. That's what I would consider reading. That's how I would define it. So I don't have any snobby preferences on you didn't read it unless you read it in the format that I think is the correct one. Whatever. In my opinion, it's all reading. So the original paper reading, that's a fun way to read books. I love the smell of the book. I love being able to hold it and show people, right? I do audiobooks, so I'm not holding anything right now. I'm just pretending I'm holding things. But when you get that paper copy, I have learned that one, it is a lot when it comes to moving, because I used to have multiple big bookshelves. Oh, there's a plane going overhead. I hope you guys aren't bothered by that. I used to have multiple big bookshelves that would line the walls in my room, and every time I had to like move to a new room or a house or whatever, I'd have to carry all those, and I had bags and bags of books I was carrying everywhere, and I just said, I'm done with it. I'm not going to do the paper books anymore. It's too much. And then when you're actually reading it, it's a lot on your eyes. It's something you got to hold with your hands. You've got to look down. It's hard to prop it up on anything. You have to be able to hold it usually with one hand or two hands. When you take it around with you, you throw it in your backpack or whatever you're carrying it somewhere, and it usually gets bent and torn, goes down in value, and all those things. So it can be a little bit annoying, but I do love the nostalgic feel of it, the smell of it. Sort of that, I'm doing the authentic book reading kind of feel, getting away from technology. If you're taking like a technology fast, you can go sit under a tree and read your book, and it just feels, very wholesome doing that. It's also nice because you can gift it to people, and I think that's probably the number one reason why I will buy a physical copy of a book, is so that I can give it to somebody else. Like there's been some books I've read over the years that were books on relationships or communication or dating or marriage skills or things like that. And, I'd have a friend who was getting married or whatever it was, or had something really big happen in their life, and I'd want to give that book to them. And so then I could write on the inside on the first page, and, I hope this book helps you and whatever. And then I could give them that book. And so I would say that that's probably one of the most important things I think about physical copies, is it's very nice sentimentally, and it's nice to give to people. But in terms of actually reading and helping to improve your reading skills, or helping you consume more reading material, I actually feel like it's the worst format. So aside from the physical copy, the paper turning that you can have, if you get into the ebooks are really, really great. for many reasons. One, the ebooks are usually way cheaper than physical copies. If you go onto like the Kindle books or any other formats or other, not necessarily Amazon, but other things where you can get the ebooks, usually ebooks run for like $10 on average. There's books that I've looked up that were like $40-50, and then you look at the ebook version, it's like $10. So you can save a ton of money getting the ebook. In terms of transporting it, you can have tons of different ebooks that are out there on the cloud, and you just download it when you want to read it and delete it, and it goes back up to the cloud, and all you have to transport is your one device, right? Your tablet, your Kindle, whatever. You don't have to have bags of bookshelves and all these things. It can be a lot for you to have to do that. So I think that ebooks are great. The only disadvantage I would say is that for your eyes, it can be a lot if you're staring at a screen all day, which can make it useful to have those orange glasses that filter out the blue light, right? That can be useful. Or if you change your screen setting so that it filters out the blue light setting. That's the only thing I would say is kind of a con when it comes to reading ebooks. But otherwise, I think that they're better for most aspects over paper books. I would also say that with ebooks, it's nice because on your tablet, you can prop it up on something, and so you can be totally hands-free, right? You could prop it up on something while you're eating food, and you could be reading while you're eating breakfast in the morning or whatever. You don't have to be holding it and turning pages. You just have one little swipe that you do. And so I like ebooks a lot. I'll read quite a few ebooks throughout the year. And then let's get into audiobooks. And this is my favorite. This is like 90% of my book consumption is audiobooks. And not only are there a lot of reasons for generally that I think everybody would enjoy in terms of audiobooks for reading them, but I have learned for myself personally, I consume audiobooks much better, with much better retention, I mean to say, than I would a physical copy of a book. And this is a little bit dependent. For some books that are nonfiction, which is mostly what I consume, but some technical nonfiction books, I'm going to want to look at it. If it's got a lot of statistics in it, or it's talking about a lot of difficult concepts or terminology that I need to reread a few times, then I might want to read the physical copy or an ebook or something. Audio probably won't work for me. But anything in the line of a fiction book or an autobiography, or sometimes if it's a nonfiction that has a lot of memoirs to it, the more storytelling there is associated with the book, the easier it is for me to consume through audiobook. My mom will tell a very popular story in my family about how when I was a kid, she was trying to get me to read. You try to teach your kids how to read as early as you can. Usually it's like in the 4s and 5s and stuff. Kids are starting to read and pick up words. And I just was not interested in reading. And I guess there's a story where when I was like 5 or 6 years old or something, my mom was, having me go through this reading book, and here's how you read all the words, and this is what all the words mean and all this stuff. And I guess that I turned to my mom and I said, no, I don't want to do this. And I just stomped away from the table. And my mom was like, oh, what do I do? Oh no, my child blatantly hates reading. And so a friend of hers said, okay, don't worry about it. Don't freak out. Don't force it on him, or else he'll just hate it even more. All you're going to do is just read to him. So all of his school books, just read it out loud to him. Let him play with Legos or whatever. Make sure that he remembers it, what he's learning, but just read it to him. Right? I was homeschooled. I was in a homeschooled environment. And she did that for about 4 years, right? From first grade all the way up to 4th grade. And then when I was about 9 years old, I just picked up Lord of the Rings and read it all the way through. I had seen the movie. I was probably too young to see the movie. It was a little scary, but I saw the movie, and I just thought, dude, that was so cool. I've got to read that. And so it didn't matter that I really hadn't read that many books before. I had slowly started developing the reading skills, and I just had that level of interest that was so high, I made myself read that book. And that was like one of the first books I'd ever read in my whole life when I was 9 years old. And I just told myself I'm going to read just one page at a time. One page. I'm just going to work my way through it. So audiobook has really been powerful for me because all of that audio learning that my mom had done with me just made me at an early age from, 1st to 4th grade, learn how to retain information auditorially. So now audiobooks are the big thing for me. I can retain a lot more information that way. It's also great for other reasons. Aside from my own personal little story of why I like it, it's also great for anybody who wants to get into books because it's something that you can do while doing a ton of multitasking, right? I could be listening to an audiobook and working out at the gym or washing dishes or going on a walk or whatever it is, right? And as long as you can still stay focused mentally on what you're listening to, then physically you could be doing any kind of random monotonous thing. You could be driving long distance across the country or whatever you want to do. So it's great because you can multitask and that gets you through books really fast. That's how I personally read so many books in the year, because I'm able to listen to audiobooks while I'm doing a lot of other things. Otherwise, I wouldn't have time to fit in all these books. So that's probably one of the most important aspects for a pro when it comes to audiobooks. The second thing is when it comes to your own health, like your eyesight or your physical posture. You're not bent over reading a book. You're not straining your eyes looking at a book. It's just coming through your ears. You can be upright. You can be lying down. You can be doing whatever you want. So I think it's a lot healthier for your own body because of that. You're not going to wear down your eyes. You're not going to hurt the back of your neck or anything, right? So the only thing that I think doesn't work well for audiobooks is just that little aspect where if it's something that's really complex or it's got graphs or whatever it is, it can be really difficult. Like when I've read books on health, sometimes like lower back treatment books or different books on like biology, physiology or something, there's no way I can consume that through an audiobook, right? It's way too technical. The concepts are too complex. I've got to be able to look at it, reread it a few times, go through it really slowly, look at some pictures and graphs and charts and things like that. So guys, I think that wraps it up for me. The paper books, the ebooks, the audiobooks, play around with those, find your preferences, find out what works well for you, and I think that actually helps you when you figure out the kind of book you like to read. You can have a totally different experience. There's been times where I've tried to go through the hard copy of a book, that science fiction trilogy Red Rising. I first got that book as a paper copy and I tried reading. I only got a few chapters in and then I put it down. A year later, I found the audiobook, got a great narrator on that audiobook, and I went through the whole thing in just a few days. It was so good. So it can completely change your experience going audiobook, ebook, or a paper copy. Worth experimenting with. All right, that's my little book blurb for today. Hope you guys have some good reading ahead of you.